Maribel knew the evening would be remembered for years. Her apartment glowed with soft lighting, the scent of fresh roses filling the air. 40 colleagues, clients, and senior executives gathered to celebrate her promotion to senior partner. Glasses of champagne shimmered in their hands, and her boss stood nearby, ready for a toast. Then the front door banged open, and her sister Lisbeth marched in, dragging her 3 children as if they were luggage. "You need to watch the kids right now," Lisbeth declared, her voice loud enough for every guest to hear. "I don't care if it's your promotion party." The room froze in silence. Colleagues stood with glasses halfway to their lips, their expressions locked in disbelief. Maribel blinked, stunned, then glanced at her boss, Aldrich Vaughan, the managing partner known for being merciless about professionalism. His eyebrow arched slightly, a gesture that had made junior analysts cry. Lisbeth shoved the children into the apartment. 7-year-old Kaysen darted for the laptop on the desk, 5-year-old Alira reached sticky fingers toward the shrimp tower, and 3-year-old Nilo scrambled toward the bookshelf like a mountaineer. Maribel steadied her voice, the same calm she used in hostile negotiations. "Lisbeth, this is my promotion party. These people are my colleagues and clients, including the CFO of Haversall Industries." Lisbeth rolled her eyes and waved a dismissive hand. "Tyson just called. His boss has an emergency meeting. I have a spa appointment. I booked it months ago. Family helps family." The CFO herself, Sarana Haversall, raised her eyebrows as Alira sneezed directly onto the shrimp display. Maribel's assistant, Karina, looked horrified. The senior partners exchanged sharp glances, their silence more cutting than words. Maribel pulled a card from her wallet and held it out. "If you need emergency childcare, here's my card. I charge $500 an hour. 4-hour minimum." Lisbeth gave a short laugh. "You can't be serious." "I am," Maribel replied flatly. "You want me to provide a service during my work event? That makes it a business transaction. $500 an hour, or you can take them with you." The room's tension shifted. Guests exchanged looks, fascinated, like they were watching a match at Wimbledon, heads turning between sisters. Kaysen clicked Maribel's presentation remote, randomly flipping through quarterly projection slides. Nilo had somehow found chocolate and smeared it on his shirt. Lisbeth hissed, "You're being ridiculous. I'm your sister. And you're crashing my professional event with 3 unsupervised children," Maribel countered. She gestured toward the guests. "Do you see mother here? Father? Even our brother?" "Well," because they respected this was a professional moment. A spa appointment is not an emergency. At that, Aldrich stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Mississippi Lane, I believe we haven't met. I'm Aldrich Vaughan, managing partner at Vaughan & Company." Lisbeth's face paled. Even she recognized the name from journals she'd ignored at family dinners. "Oh, hello. I was just dropping children at a corporate event without warning," Aldrich finished smoothly. His smile was sharp as glass. "Maribel always helps with the kids," Lisbeth stammered. "She doesn't even have children of her own. Because I've spent the last decade building a career that now bills at $500 an hour," Maribel said, cutting in. "Which you'd know if you ever asked about my work instead of asking when I'd give you nieces and nephews." Kaysen clicked to a slide showing the company's 8-figure revenue growth. Lisbeth's eyes widened. "That's your company's money, not yours." Karina couldn't resist. Actually, as senior partner, Maribel owns 15% equity. "Karina," Maribel warned, but the damage was done. 15%. Lisbeth whispered, stunned. "The point is simple," Maribel said firmly. "You have 3 options. 1. Take your children with you. 2. Pay my consulting rate. 3. Skip the spa and stay here yourself. You'd charge your own sister." Lisbeth snapped. "You'd crash your sister's promotion party?" Maribel shot back. The CFO Sarana suddenly laughed, breaking the silence. "I'll pay for it," she said, pulling out her phone. The room turned toward her. "I'm serious. This is the most entertaining corporate event I've attended in years. Consider it an early birthday gift, Maribel. What's your transfer info? That's not necessary, Maribel began. It absolutely is, Serana interrupted. Lisbeth, I'm hiring your sister right now. $500 an hour. 4-hour minimum. That's $2,000. Fair warning, she once made our legal team cry. If your kids survive, they'll be stronger for it. Lisbeth's mouth opened and closed like a fish. This is insane. They're children, not clients. Exactly, Maribel said. Which is why they don't belong here. Nilo knocked over a wine glass. Red liquid spread across the cream carpet. The carpet Maribel had professionally cleaned. With what will you clean this? Maribel asked. The diaper bag you didn't bring. The snacks you forgot. You never prepare, Lisbeth. You assume I'll fix it. Because you're my sister. Lisbeth cried. No, Maribel said firmly, lifting Nilo from the puddle. That's what doormats do. And I retired from that role 5 minutes ago. Aldrich cleared his throat. Perhaps we should move to the terrace while the sisters resolve this. No need, Maribel replied coolly. Lisbeth was just leaving. Weren't you, Lisbeth? I can't take them to the spa, Lisbeth exclaimed. Then I suppose you'll miss your appointment. Maribel handed Nilo into her sister's arms. Kaysen, Elira, say goodbye to your mother. I want to stay with Aunt Mari, Elira protested. Aunt Mari has work to do, sweetheart, Maribel said gently. We'll plan a real day together soon. Not like this. This is cruel, Lisbeth snapped. You're choosing work over family. I'm choosing respect over exploitation, Maribel corrected. There's a difference. Mother will hear about this. Good, Maribel said. Tell her how you crashed my promotion party because a spa was more important than my career. Serana pulled out a checkbook. You know what? I'm old-fashioned. Here's $2,000. She handed it toward Lisbeth. Consider your sister officially hired and fired tonight. Shortest consulting contract ever. I don't want your money, Lisbeth snapped. Then don't crash professional events expecting free childcare, Serana replied smoothly. The least you can do is respect your sister's achievement. Lisbeth's cheeks flushed red. The kids whined at the tension. Guests openly recorded on their phones. Fine, Lisbeth spat. But don't call me when you're 40 and alone because you chose work over family. I'd rather be 40 and alone than 35 and entitled, Maribel shot back. At least I'll afford my own spa days. The door slammed behind Lisbeth as she dragged the children away, the sound rattling the frames of Maribel's professional awards. For a long moment silence reigned. Then slow clapping began, spreading until the entire room applauded. Aldrich raised his champagne. To Maribel Lane, our newest senior partner, who negotiates as fiercely with family as she does with Fortune 500 companies. The room echoed. Hear, hear. As the applause faded, Serana stepped closer. That was brutal but necessary, she said softly. I have a sister too. Took me until 45 to set boundaries. You're ahead of me, Maribel. She pressed the signed check into Maribel's hand. Keep this. Frame it. A reminder that your time has value, especially with family. Maribel hesitated. I can't accept. You can, Serana cut in. Consider it your first act as senior partner. Payment for services rendered. Maribel looked at the absurd $2,000 check for babysitting she hadn't done and gave a small, grateful smile. The party resumed with a different energy. Colleagues approached Maribel, eager to share stories of family taking advantage of them. Clients nodded knowingly, offering anecdotes of similar struggles. What could have been a humiliating disaster had become a bonding moment, proof that she could hold boundaries even under pressure. Maribel realized she had turned potential ruin into respect. Guests toasted again, laughter returned, and conversations shifted toward business and admiration. An hour later, Maribel's phone buzzed. A message from her mother appeared on the screen. Lisbeth told us what happened. Good for you. It's about time you stood up for yourself. P.S. Congratulations on the promotion. Your father and I are proud. Moments later, another text arrived from her brother, Enrique. Heard you went full lawyer on Lisbeth. Savage. Also, congrats, sis. Drink soon. Maribel read the words twice. Not praise she often received from her family. But nothing came from Lisbeth. Not that night. Not the next day. Not for 3 long weeks. Silence stretched between sisters like a canyon. Then one evening Maribel's phone chimed again. A message from Lisbeth. Can we talk? No kids, no drama. Just sisters. Maribel considered, then agreed. They chose a coffee shop downtown. When Lisbeth walked in, she looked surprisingly put together. Hair brushed, mascara even, clothes not from the laundry pile. She sat down across from Maribel with a sigh. I've been thinking about what you said. Respect. Exploitation. Boundaries. Maribel waited quietly, stirring her coffee. Lisbeth's hands twisted in her lap. Tyson and I fought about it, Lisbeth admitted. He said you were right. That I've been treating you like free childcare for years. And... She swallowed. I'm sorry. The words looked painful for her to say. I guess I always thought your success was... showing off. Making us look bad. My success has nothing to do with you, Maribel said gently. It's about me making myself proud. Not about making you feel small. Lisbeth's eyes lowered. I know that now. Or I'm trying to. She pulled out her phone. I told the kids they can't see Aunt Mari unless we plan it properly. Kaysen even asked if we had to pay your consulting fee. Maribel chuckled despite herself. Smart kid. He gets it from me. Lisbeth smiled faintly. So, can we plan something? For real this time. I'll bring snacks. Activities. Everything. Maribel nodded. We can do that. For the first time in years, she saw something new in her sister's eyes. Effort. 6 months later, Lisbeth followed through. She brought the children to Maribel's office on a Saturday afternoon. A planned visit with juice boxes, snacks, and coloring books. The kids sat wide-eyed in the polished conference room while Maribel taught them simple business lessons using candy bars as currency. Aunt Mari, are you really a boss? Alira asked with chocolate on her lips. She's not just a boss, Lisbeth said, smiling proudly. She's a senior partner. That means she's the boss of bosses. Cool, Kaysen shouted. Can I be a boss someday? Sure, Maribel replied. But first, learn not to crash important meetings. Lisbeth winced but laughed. Still not living that down. Never, Maribel teased. It's part of our story now. The story where Aunt Mari stood up to Mommy, little Nilo said innocently. The story where Aunt Mari taught Mommy about respect, Lisbeth corrected. As Maribel watched her niece and nephews play business meeting with markers, she realized something important. Boundaries hadn't destroyed her relationship with Lisbeth. They had saved it. For the first time their bond felt honest, even healthy. She smiled quietly, knowing respect was finally entering their family. Meanwhile, the framed check from Sarana hung in her office. A $2,000 reminder that her time had value, even to family. Whenever she looked at it, she remembered the night she chose self-respect over being a doormat. Colleagues often asked about the story behind it, and she told it proudly. That party became legend at Vaughn and Company. Partners retold the story at retreats. Associates whispered about it during late nights. Clients laughed, quoting the lines. The night Maribel Lane negotiated child care rates at her own promotion party. The night family tested corporate law and lost. At first, Lisbeth hated the story being told. But over time she came to laugh at it too. You'll never let me forget, will you? She teased one evening. Never, Maribel answered. It keeps both of us honest. You're impossible. And respected, Maribel replied with a grin. One day Lisbeth called, her tone softer than usual. Can you come over? The kids want to show you something. Maribel arrived to find a handmade poster taped to the wall. Crayon drawings of her in a suit, holding scales of justice, surrounded by the words, Aunt Mari, boss of bosses. Her throat tightened as Kaysen explained. We made it because you're the strongest person we know. Alira added. And because you taught Mommy how to say sorry. Lisbeth stood behind them, looking shy but proud. Guess they learned negotiation skills from you, she said. That evening, Maribel stayed for dinner. For once, Lisbeth had prepared. Food on the table, kids bathed, no chaos. They talked like sisters, not rivals. And though old habits still peeked through, the respect was real. Maribel realized the impossible had happened. Her sister was changing. At work things flourished. Sorana became one of her strongest allies, often joking. If you can negotiate with family, you can negotiate with anyone. Aldrich praised her composure regularly. Colleagues whispered admiration. Maribel's name began circulating in business magazines, tied not just to her promotion but to her unshakable boundaries. And yet, Maribel never forgot that night in her apartment, the night her sister barged in with chaos, and she finally chose herself. It wasn't just about money or career or boundaries. It was about dignity. And dignity, she realized, was something worth defending at any cost. Months rolled by, and the framed check became a conversation starter in Maribel's office. Every new client who noticed it asked the story, and every time, she retold it with a mix of humor and firmness. It's a reminder, she'd say. Even family has to respect boundaries. Her colleagues called it her badge of honor. For Maribel, it was more than that. It was proof she had changed, proof she had finally stopped letting guilt dictate her life. One afternoon, Lisbeth dropped by Maribel's apartment with no children in tow. This time I came alone, she said quickly, as if anticipating suspicion. Maribel raised an eyebrow. No surprise spa appointments. Lisbeth laughed nervously. No, I actually wanted to ask you something. Can you help me update my resume? Maribel set down her papers. You're looking for a job. Lisbeth nodded, cheeks flushed. Tyson and I agreed. It's time I contribute properly. And maybe be less dependent. Maribel smiled faintly. That's a big step. Lisbeth shrugged. You inspired me. I watched you stand up that night and realized I've been coasting, expecting you and everyone else to carry me. She lowered her voice. I don't want the kids to grow up thinking that's normal. Maribel felt a quiet pride rise in her chest. I'll help. But no shortcuts, Lisbeth. You'll have to do the hard work yourself. They spent the evening drafting the resume. For the first time, Lisbeth listened without defensiveness. She asked questions. She took notes. When they finished, she said softly, Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. Maribel shook her head. I didn't do this for you, Lisbeth. I did it for me. Boundaries protect both of us. Weeks later, Lisbeth called with excitement. I got the job. It's part-time at first, but it's mine. I earned it. Maribel congratulated her, hearing real pride in her sister's voice. The children chimed in from the background. Aunt Mari, Mommy got a job. For once, they were celebrating Lisbeth's success, not leaning on Maribel's. That weekend, Lisbeth invited Maribel over for dinner. The table was neatly set. The kids had drawn placemats that said respect in colorful letters. We wanted to celebrate Mommy and Aunt Mari, Alira explained. Lisbeth raised her glass of water. To change, she said. Maribel clinked her glass. To respect. The kids clinked their juice boxes. Maribel noticed something new that evening. The house was still noisy, still full of scattered toys, but there was effort. Snacks were packed, schedules planned, and Lisbeth wasn't running out the door. She was present. For once, Maribel didn't feel like the responsible adult forced to fix everything. She felt like a guest, a sister, part of a family that was finally balancing. At work, Maribel continued to thrive. Vaughn & Co. expanded, and she began leading international negotiations. During one late-night deal in Paris, Serana messaged her a simple note. "Remember, if you can face your sister, you can face anyone." Maribel laughed, thinking of Lisbeth barging into her promotion party. That story never stopped following her, but now she wore it proudly. Back home, Lisbeth visited Maribel's office again, this time with the kids for another planned visit. "No surprises," Lisbeth said with a grin, showing a tote bag stuffed with snacks and wipes. The children sat around the conference table while Maribel explained contracts using colored markers. Kaysen asked, "Do contracts mean promises?" "Yes," Maribel said. "But promises that are written down so people can't forget them." Lisbeth's gaze softened, as if the words struck her deeper than intended. Later that day, Lisbeth pulled Maribel aside. "I know I said sorry before, but I need to say it again. Not just for that night. For years of assuming your time didn't matter. For treating your achievements like they were showing off." Maribel placed a hand on her sister's shoulder. "Apologies are good. Change is better. And you're changing." The kids interrupted with giggles, holding up a sign they'd scribbled. "Aunt Mari, boss forever." Lisbeth rolled her eyes playfully. "They're never going to let this go." "They shouldn't," Maribel replied, smiling. "Neither should you. That night taught all of us something." Months later, at another corporate event, a colleague jokingly introduced Maribel as the woman who charged babysitting at her promotion party. Laughter filled the room, but Maribel noticed Lisbeth standing at the back with the children, properly supervised, clapping proudly. Instead of embarrassment, Lisbeth shared in the humor. She had grown too. Maribel often reflected on how different things felt now. She had feared that boundaries would create walls. Instead, they built bridges. Her sister respected her more, her family valued her time, and her career thrived. She realized respect wasn't about pushing people away. It was about teaching them where the line stood. One quiet evening, as Maribel closed her office, she lingered by the framed check. She thought of Serana's words. "A reminder your time has value." She whispered to herself. "It always did. I just needed to believe it." That night, she walked home lighter than she had in years. At home, she found a letter slipped under her door. It was from Lisbeth, handwritten, shaky but sincere. "Dear Mari, I don't say this enough. Thank you. For standing up, for not letting me trample over you, for teaching me what respect looks like. I hope the kids grow up with your strength. Love, Lisbeth." Tears pricked Maribel's eyes. She folded the letter carefully and placed it next to the framed check. Two very different reminders. One of confrontation, one of reconciliation. Together they told the whole story. Over dinner weeks later, Kaysen asked innocently, "Aunt Mari, what happens if you don't set boundaries?" Maribel smiled. "Then people take from you until you have nothing left." Lyra leaned in. "So boundaries are like invisible fences." "Exactly," Maribel said. "But fences with gates you control. You decide who comes in." The children nodded thoughtfully, as if the lesson sunk deeper than candy bar economics. Lisbeth whispered, "You really are teaching them more than I ever could." Maribel shook her head. "No, you're teaching them too by changing. That's the strongest lesson." Lisbeth's eyes filled, but she smiled. Years later, people still told the story of that infamous promotion party. It became company folklore. But for Maribel, the truest victory wasn't the applause or the framed check. It was sitting across from her sister at a kitchen table, sharing laughter without resentment. It was hearing her niece and nephews talk about respect as if it were second nature. Maribel realized something profound. Boundaries hadn't only protected her career, they had redefined her family. That night, she had thought she might lose her sister forever. Instead, she had gained a new one. And as she leaned back in her chair, listening to the children's laughter, she knew. Dignity, once defended, has the power to heal everything it once threatened to break.